I had a gentleman by the name of Greg sent me this lighter, wanted me to fix for him. I fixed it already, but he wanted me to do a video of it, so I told him I could take it apart and go through it and show you what needs to be done. This is a Colibri. It's a dual flame, but it's kind of like built like a. It's got the old style flip top here, you know, and little button here you press down, and you got your pipe lighter. Let me open up the flame on this. That's pretty much about, I set them probably about inch and a half high. Yes, you got this enough flame for your pipe. Now if you let go of these slowly, the flame will stay on, but if you just drop it, it's gonna snuff the flame out. Alright. The seals on this was basically a brand new lighter, but I'll tell you folks that the parts inside, the internal parts, were seized up in there, and that usually happens when people leave butane in a lighter over a period of years, okay, because them brass parts in there can corrode, and the sponges in there, or the pressure regulators, whatever you want to call them, will get grimy. And on these older lighters, they used a solid, they used just like a solid sponge. The ones I use, to replace them, come out of a butane lighter, and they got a hole in the middle. So even if, say for instance, you forget to, when you store it, to purge your gas from the tank, it will most likely still work down the road. What might not work is your flame adjustment, like I said, because all those parts in there, folks, got to move freely on this here to work up and down, up and down. Basically, you know what you're doing is you're taking what this mechanism, this screw does here, and the mechanisms inside is taking the sponge and squeezing it, and the more you squeeze it, the less gas flows inside it. So unless it's able to move, say for instance, if you tighten it down and you left it on a little flame and for years on end, and you might not be able to open it back up because the inside internal components might be froze there, and that's why a lot of times too that your flame adjustment won't work on lighters, especially old vintage lighters, folks. You know, it's been sitting around with that old junk butane. You know, the butane they make now is pretty much about anything that's been purified, you know, 2 or 3 times, 4 times, whatever, is good enough for these lighters. So we're going to go through this a little bit and drop out the flint. Better get some, put this in, parts in. Alright, now better drain the butane tank, get it out of there. When you take the filler valve out of these lighters, any lighter, for instance, guys, you're going to have, when you put it back in, like, you know, put new seals on it, you're going to have air inside your tank. And if you just fill it up and you notice a flame being erratic, bouncing up and down, what you need to do is just purge this tank maybe a full time and fill it up maybe 2 or 3 times and purge it. And how you can tell if you got when you got all butane in it, as soon as you press on this valve, you're getting liquid butane coming right out. If you get like air and stuff, you just got to keep purging it. You want liquid butane to come out of this as soon as you poke this release valve on this butane. Okay, so there's that. You know, some of these lighters, guys, are easy to work on than others. So this one here wasn't that easy to work on. I mean, it's easy to work on, but I spent a lot of time trying to get the valve unplugged. Okay, so I can get the airway, because the gentleman said, you know, it held butane fine. I checked through all the seals. The seals were good in this, so let's just go over the filler valve first, alright? This is, most of your Colibris have a filler valve like this. Now you're going to see this rubber seal here. Alright, this is kind of a particular type seal, but if you have to, you should be able to get by with like a flat washer type rubber seal, or possibly an O-ring. You'll just have to try. As far as there's just a seal. See, this is what you use to fill that up with. All that does is just seal right there against the rubber, so it doesn't leak butane out, because the hole in here is off center. Because see, this has a solid pin, so gas actually goes around it, okay? And that's just to that seal's just made around this plastic part of this valve right here. Alright. There ain't much to repair in these valves. You just take them apart and make sure the inside's clean. And you check your seal here. Alright. This seal was pliable, so I never even had to change it, and the valve was in good working order. Now, when you do have to replace these guys, you don't want your seal past the platform that it sits on right here. You don't want it any larger in diameter, because like I said, this here blows butane around this part here and past the side right here. If you got an extra large seal come around, you might not get any butane in this valve at all, or inside your lighter. So just keep it in mind. And that seal's pretty thin. So what you might realize here though too, if you put a thicker O-ring on it, you might see this pin not protruding up as far as it did before you put a new seal on. Okay, you see this? And it's got to protrude up a certain amount, because this gas, you see how that hole's off center? Well, that pin pushes against the plastic. Plastic inside this here pushes against the pin. Pushes down, open the valve up, okay? So if you put a bigger O-ring around here, this pin is going to set further down, and you might not be able to use it. You might have to maybe possibly trim off some of this right here to get your pin down further. Try to use the same size thickness of that seal in here that you can. Otherwise, this pin leak's going to vary, and it might not hit the bottom side of this here filler valve adapter to open up the valve, just so you'll know. Okay? Alright. Even though that seal was good, I always put a little bit of O-ring grease just around it, just to wet it down. You know, that's all. You just want to wet it down because the seal's not new, but it's still good. So I'm just going to stick this back in the lighter. Also, too, this lighter had, cotton in it, if you get an erratic flame in your lighter, your butane lighter, and there's no, even after you bled it, if somebody took it apart trying to fix it, or if they pulled out the filter it's inside the tank, or the cotton or whatever it's inside it, your flame's going to be erratic, all depending where, if it gets gas going up through here, if it gets a shot of liquid coming through here, okay, it's going to be an erratic flame. So you got to make sure that you get some type of diffuser in there, so to speak, if you will. Soak up the butane liquid, but yet release the gas. All right. All right. Now, let's take the cap off. All there is to that right there. Now, there's a valve down in there you have to unscrew to pull out. So you can unplug the inside of this, because there's an orifice in here. It's got a little bitty hole in it, probably about a 0.5 millimeter in diameter. So, and you're always going to mess it up, but you got to take that. This is a little sticker over here. It's got an adhesive on the back of it. I try to get these off as best I can, folks, without messing them up. But you don't always keep them perfect. And you see, there's a little screw in there. We have to get some glasses on. All right. There's what's in that right there. Put that over here. Get you a magnetic tray. Now, let me get my tweezers. Okay, here's what that thumb button and screw is hooked onto right here. Okay, what that does, this here goes over the valve, okay? And this goes up on top. Well, that little brass piece pushes on that this little brass piece in here. Sets over here like this. Okay. And this basically comes up, there's a little hole in the side of this valve. You can see it right here, I think. Okay. Well, that covers that hole in a normal position. Gas just flows up through the top. But when you pull it down, then the gas is exposed to the side flame here. So that's how that works. There's a little spring down here, but I put it over here in my tray. Okay. Now you gotta unscrew these, but guys, do it as be gentle on these. These are brass parts, and brass parts are once you get it loose, brass parts are easy to strip out. Don't ever over tighten anything either. over tighten it, an O-ring or a seal, it's going to leak on you. Alright. Okay. Let me find my cheapy tweezers. Let me here somewhere. Let's see here. Right here they are. Here it goes. Well, that is exactly the one I wanted. Somebody use this little screwdriver. The tool I'd use in there I actually gave the old Rob. Need to make another one, but if you're going to work on your lighters, guys, you're going to have to make homemade tools for it if it's not too involved. Some of these lighters require specific tools. And guys, listen, I'll answer the questions, make an answer. But guys, I'm not going to, if you can't put a flint in a lighter, there's a good chance you don't need to be working on it, alright? You know, you just, here's what you got here. This is what you got. That little stopper on the bottom, when you push, when that little stopper in the hood pushes down on this, that plugs up that orifice. And I checked all these seals, everything was good. Watch out, don't lose these springs. That's why I really recommend a magnetic tray, alright? Now listen, if you need a stopper or something in there, you take your butane lighter apart. Where I find some stoppers is inside these. And there's a stopper right there. Alright. I don't know if it's the right size. Save the spring, a little O-ring on the inside of that, but there's a little stopper. Now there's different size stoppers. There's flat ones and there's round ones on different butane lighters, you know, disposable ones. So you're going to have to, you know, just buy a few and go through them and see what you can use. Now, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, but I'm going to try to show you the little orifice down in here. Let me get my other light out. Well, that doesn't seem to want to work either. This might be better. There, you can probably see that little orifice, that little hole, kind of like at 11 o'clock position, because I got this tilted a little bit. Now, you know, when I got that apart, you know, I'll usually try to put some air into this side, try to blow that valve out that's stuck on the inside of here. I couldn't do it. I'll tell you what, folks, I couldn't do it. So, to make a long story short, what I did, let me see if I can find it here. Right here. What I did was, I got some of this acid here. 85% concentration of acid, okay? Phosphoric acid. I put a few drops right down in there and let it soak, and it soaked through that hole and it actually loosened that up. And I didn't know if it would work because I was blown. I did everything I could. I couldn't poke a pin through there to poke it out. I couldn't do anything. This air wouldn't blow it out. I tried alcohol in there, just let it soak. I couldn't get it that way, so I finally tried a little bit of this acid, and it loosened it up enough to where I, you know, used a little can of air and I blew it out. But unfortunately, I blew the freaking parts out, and I didn't see completely exactly how they came out. So I think I got them in there right because the flame adjustment and everything's working right. But there's a spring in there, and the spring always leaves me a little question mark in my mind, because most of these things, like say for instance the Savinellis I work on and the IM Coronas, they don't have a spring inside them, okay? They just basically work off the compression of the filter itself. Actually moves the brass back and forth, you know. So anyway, let's take these parts out here on the bottom here, and we'll go through this. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to explain. When I get these parts out of here, I'm going to focus up on them and I'm going to explain what they do for you, okay? Yeah, that's right. That's got a little... There we go. All right. Here's what we got. Now I'm going to look down inside here and make sure that if I could see that my sponge is still kind of centered. I didn't blow it all out of proportion. When I put it back to work, I want it to work correctly. It's there. Okay, that's good. Okay, now this is how I had it in there, but I don't really think I had that in there correct. Okay, I'll explain something to you here. Okay, right directly in front of this is a sponge. Okay, when I say you gotta squeeze, let some more gas in now though, you know, as you screw it in or unloosen it. Okay, and that is I think you might be able to possibly see if I get the right side here. Let me zoom back a little bit here. You can see that little hole down in there, right? Well, the sponge is right around that. Usually when these lighters are made new, the sponge they use will actually cover that hole. Alright. Now, I got to thinking about this earlier. I got to thinking that I might have put that spring in there wrong. And I'll tell you why. All right, that there. Zoom in again. That there is going to compress the sponge. If you screw this screw down in. This here is the rod's going to push on that. This is your seal. Make sure there ain't gas coming out the top. That's your screw. I'll just call that like a little pusher rod, so to speak, pushes on this, okay? And you see this here, okay? It's got little slots in it. This I call your maximum flame adjustment screw, and what I mean by that is when you screw that down, that's going to compress this. It's going to compress the sponge. So you want to screw this here screw down to the point where that's where your maximum flame goes. Like say you want your maximum flame set for a couple inches or an inch and a half. Okay, now you see this here? This little rod on the end of here, little nub, will protrude through this hole here and push this again, which will allow your fine tune adjustment for, you know, for maximum to minimum. But here's the deal. With pressure on this spring, like I got it, it's pushing down on this rod and actually compressing the sponge. And I'm thinking that that isn't right. I'm thinking that this spring, but I've never seen it, I'm thinking that this spring actually needs to be, because this whole system blowed out there, I'm thinking that needs to be like that. And the reason I say is when you unloosen this or this one, all depending on what you're adjusting, the spring here will push this rod back. Okay. Now I did note, I got thinking, I got to looking in here, there is that that sponge sits right inside a little crevice, and there is a little ridge outside around that, so I'm thinking that's where that spring will settle. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this back together this way, and I'm going to try to see if that works. And I got to look down in here because I'm dropping stuff in here, and I made up my mind I'm going to buy a scope of some sort to put down in here, because it's hard to see down inside these things when you got a reflection on the back of your chrome plate lighter, or any lighter for that matter. Think about getting one of them small scope or something like stick down there. It's got a little it's too much reflection. Still, I can't see in there with that. Maybe this will work better. Well, I gotta get me some glasses. See down in there. Seemed like I always had to have it a certain way. Yeah, I think you got her down in there now. Alright, I think what I want to do here is I want to put this together like this. See, that gives it a little bit of spring, but yet it goes down over that alright. Now put that in there like that, and that like that. We'll try to get this started. Don't strip your threads out. Don't strip your threads out. I'm going to have to get me a camera monitor. Now I'm going to install the top, okay, and I'm going to go with that route, put everything back together. Let's put a little butane in that, see where we're at. Alright. Alright, you got a small flame. Now see, I'm going to adjust that screw in there. Well, I told you it's the maximum flame length screw. That's good right there. Check the stopper. Stopper's good. Alright, now this screw here, we'll adjust it from that maximum flame setting down to your minimum. Alright, let's go ahead and light it. That's the way that goes, spring in. That's exactly what that spring's for. Turn it down low. Alright, and we'll put the purge this out, and I'll put some more butane in it. Now let's see if we get butane right out of it. Yeah, we're good. Alright, that's topped off. Alright. Okay, now from this point, alright, we want to put this spring. We want to put this spring on here, right over this. See the spring right there? Alright. Then from this point here, we're going to put this on right there like that. Okay. Then we're going to put this on. That's actually going to sit in there like, you know, going to sit in here like this. There we go. Turn around though. What you want to do is okay, you might have to take a little screwdriver because that thing will flip around, and you might want to just hold that brass part right there like that. Then you want to put your little screw down on it. Well, I figure it's that magnetic. That's why I use buy some of these cheaper titanium tweezers, is because they're non-magnetic, so Okay. Open that up a little bit. Alright. Now, we'll get that down in there. Hey Rob, if you're watching this, I missed that little black and gray screwdriver. Yeah, I got more around here somewhere. Just using what I got. This is adjustable. If you get that too tight, you might find it hard to strike this, okay? If you get that too tight. But if your flint gets wore out, then you want to screw it down a little more. Alright. Flame adjustment working good. Alright. That's good. Now, what I usually do, guys, is I go down at some store, hardware store, and grab you some that 3M can of spray adhesive and spray the back of these stickers. This one still had plenty on it, plenty in there, so I'm going to put it back. Look, make sure I get it in there straight. That looks pretty good. And what you want to do though too, guys, is get you a blow dryer, hair blow dryer, and put some heat on that there before you try picking that off. Okay, it'll make that adhesive that's on there soften it up a little bit, so you can get in there. Basically, some of the best tool you can find to get in there with to do that is something that's got a blade on like this, you know, real fine. You can get on the side and poke it out, and you can see I kind of burgered it up a little bit. See there toward the bottom, but that ain't that bad. That's just the price you pay, you know. People that might have worked on these before from factory, they might have had brand new stickers to put in these, but fortunately we don't have the option for parts or anything anymore. Like I said, you let up easy on these, it'll stay lit, but you know, pop it off, you know. Another thing too is, you see that rubber piece in there? That pushes down on that, right? This valve here. Okay. So the stopper mechanism I showed you in this plugs the orifice. Now these things might get burnt out with heat, you know. When you're lighting these lighters, guys, don't keep the heat away from that cap. You know, you don't want to melt that in there. Now, Greg, I'm going to send a few extra of them in there for you. Okay, you just have to get some fine tweezers or something to plug them, pull them out with. You know, and there is a spring and brass plate behind that. So if you have to replace one of these in this, be careful that spring and brass plate don't pop out and get in your carpet or something. So, you know, I recommend, you know, guys, get you a big clear bag if you have to, if you're working on something, and stick your hands in it if something's under spring pressure. That way, if you're working on it and it pops off, you know, the bag will stop it from you know, you'd be surprised how far some of that stuff makes it. I mean, it'll amaze you how far some of that stuff will go under that spring pressure. Anyway, this is a Colibri Dual. You can see that, you know, that it isn't what you call completely flush, but I think that when you got your screw here that sticks out at the end a little bit, guys, that's because the filter that I used in here, the pressure filter or the sponge, is a little bit thicker than the stop one. Alright. This is actually a nice little lighter. Brand new. So, another thing is too, you get a brand new lighter, guys, don't be storing, purge your butane from it. Take your flint out. And so I've seen brand new lighters that I had to drill the inside of this out. I got drill bits, I can do it, but you know, you spend 30 minutes or more trying to drill these out, because that flint, them old flints get in there and they're hard. They're made out of metal, you know, flint's made out of metal, so and it decomposes. That's why they paint them up. It decomposes after years and gets just frozen up inside them flint tubes here. So anyway, this is ready to go. You can hear that, and that's a lot more gas than you're going to need. Alright. That's it, guys. Take your time. If you're having trouble, you know, I get online and I buy these little bitty, let me show them to you. If you got to unplug that orifice in there, you know, the one I'm talking to you about, you can get on eBay. It's where I got these, and I bought different sizes. But this is going to what you want right here. This is actually a steel rod. This will break, but it's a 1/2 millimeter. That's what I use sometimes to get in there and unplug them orifices, okay, to push out from the top if it isn't seized in there too far, that internal mechanism. But like I said, I couldn't do it, so I used some of that acid to put down in there, and they got in there and softened up everything to where I was able to use my can of compressed air and blow it all out. But if you do do that and you blow it out, make sure you hold your hand behind there, put it when you're blowing it out. That way everything will be in order as it comes out. You won't have to try to figure out which way it goes in like I did. I eventually figured it out, but sometimes things will just dawn on me while I'm at work, and it'll pop into my head, and I'll think, yeah, and I'll go home and check it out and say, yeah, that's it. And like in this case there, where that sponge said, it had a little shelf right up top of it. So that's where that spring was on to and whatnot. So anyway there, Greg, there's your lighter, bud. Enjoy it.